So, good morning, everyone. We request all of you to please stand by and keep your camera closed and microphone on mute. And advisors, can you please give the link to your students so that they could have the registration for this morning's session? Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Sir June? Sir June?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay, are we waiting for the other students?
Okay.
Nag-wait pa ta, sir? What classes are involved in this answer?
All ko ano siya, ma'am, participated by students pero limited ang makasuhan ni ma'am, mga
Lagi,
100 naman po.
100 lagi ho. Ho. I
Oo.
thought all are STEM and kuan. Sa
Pero
sunod
ang
lang sa musudod. Okay, okay. Sige, sir.
priority na to aning sa kuan ma'am kaning sa grade 12.
Okay, sir. Sige, sir. Sige.
Okay.
Okay, let's wait for the others na lang, sir. Mm-mm. Binaw, bitaw ka doon.
Good morning again, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
We request all of you to please stand by and keep your camera closed and microphone on mute as we begin our uh, webinar any moment. And if you have time, please take the registration form found in our info messages. Okay, good morning again, everyone. We welcome you in today's virtual seminar on National Disaster Risk Reduction Management. It's such a good day not to teach mind, touch hearts, and transform lives. Just a little bit housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the in-call messages control panel. And I will bring them during the presentation of our speaker, and we will also have time for your questions at the end of the session. So let us begin our morning sessions by remembering that we are in the most holy presence of our Supreme Being. For the Catholics, we may sign the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
silence for the singing of our Philippine national anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
All right. Good morning again, everyone, to the faculty heads and to all our fellow teachers, to students. It is my pleasure to be your host for today's webinar. I am Ms. Noemi Ndrmc. On behalf of the San Luis Oriental Institute of Science and Technology and all the people behind this program, I would like to extend a most cordial welcome to all of you. We appreciate you for taking off your busy schedules to join us today. So to formally open our webinar, let us hear a warmest welcome remarks by our Assistant Principal and the Senior High School Coordinator, Mr. Pilugo K. Hanyo Jr. Let's give him a virtual round of applause.
Okay, so thank you very much, our master host for this webinar, Ma'am Naomi Dagatan. So happy Moist morning to everyone. Our school president, Mr. Reynaldo P. Balmores. Our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Julius Sol Hamero. Our Vice President for External Affairs, Dr. Dante Reo. Our most energetic principal for the Senior High School and Junior High School Department, Ma'am Nen Padel Socora, Ma'am. Our Guidance Director for MOIS, Mrs. Evelyn Abiuela, assisted by Ma'am Eunice Piña. Coordinators for Grade 11, Ms. Celine Ramoso. Our Grade 11 Coordinator, Ma'am Rose Selva. Our NSTP Coordinator, Mr. K. Sotor. Advisors of Senior High School, Grade 11 and Grade 12 from different sections. Students, parents, and other viewers, a pleasant morning to each one of us. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the delivery of instruction and information will be through this Google Meet. Instructions and information will be administered. And it was expected that our senior high school students, most particularly the grade 12, will be able to participate and observe the proper etiquette. Mute microphones when someone is discussing and presenting, and unmute only when acknowledged to share ideas or ask questions. Set up camera correctly and choose a quiet location. Senior High School of Moise is greatly honored to have a privilege of this webinar, Republic Act 10121. Its rationale is to strengthen our institution, disaster risk reduction and management system, whereby our coordinators will provide management framework plan as applied to our individual environment. Through this activity, I am proud to welcome our senior high school teachers and students for your full participation of this webinar, Republic Act 10121. Thank you and more power, Moise Jans.
Thank you so much, Sir Jun, for that warmest welcome. Now, to give us an inspirational message, it is my distinct privilege to introduce to you our Honorable School Principal, Mrs. Nympha R. Del Socorro. Let's give her a virtual round of applause.
Okay, thank you, Miss Dagatan. And of course, to my assistant principal, who is there always to abide with me regarding the planned activities for this department. First of all, my warmest greetings and thanks to our president of this institution, Mr. Rinaldo P. Valmores, and of course, to our Vice President for Academic Affairs, one in a million, according to my brother, Kagawa Dante Rio, Dr. Julius Sol Orongan Hamero, and of course, to our Vice President for External Affairs, and at the same time, our Dean of BSBA, Dr. Dante Obalde Rio. To the Guidance Counselor's Office, the Director, Ma'am Evelyn Abihuela, and of course, to ever supportive Guidance Counselor for the Basic Department, Ma'am Eunice Bana Peña. To my Assistant Principal, Mr. Mr. Hanyo, and of course to the coordinator of the senior high school department, Ms. Silva and Mrs. Sabuero, for the advisors, the teachers of the senior high school department, and to the teachers and faculty and staff, to the students, to the parents who are viewing now in this activity, a pleasant and yet gloomy morning to us all. When I was asked by my assistant principal to give my inspirational message regarding this activity, I was hesitant at first. But then when I view the salient features of this Republic Act 10121, this is a Republic Act, last 2010, Philippine Disaster Reduction and Management of 2010. So I didn't say no, but yes, of course. Now, when I was just in my elementary years, I remember
for a while. Okay. So, klaro na? Okay. What happened? Okay, as you can see, we have what we call it, the natural disasters nga, of course, gakahitabo sa atong gisagasa sa kalibutan, di ba? Okay, so maklaro dili.
Claro, sir.
Wait for a while ha. Happen on sa manin PC. For a while kaya akong PC dani nag-crash.
Okay, so
Dili ko maka-share sa akong screen kay nag-crash ang PC ni Ma'am Angel.
while Sir Otor is fixing her end, I would like to remind the students if you have some questions, you can post it in our in-call messages control panel, and we will gladly read them while Sir Otor is presenting, or after Sir Otor presenting his rather presentations or little sessions, right? While waiting also, students, the link for the registration are in the in-call messages. To those who have not yet signed or registered, kindly register now. All right, while waiting, can I ask from the students? Okay, while waiting, can I ask the students what are the things you would like to expect from this webinar? Is there something that you would like to expect or would you would like to look forward in today's webinar? Can I ask, or is there any volunteer? While waiting again, is there any of the students who would like to share if what they are looking forward for today's webinar? What are the things that they are expecting? Can I hear from Ma'am Amor, Miss Amor Bolongaita? Is there anything that you would like to say or look forward for today's webinar? Are we good, Sir Atar?
Ma'am, the problem is that I could not kining scroll down the presentation. Okay, klaro na, ma'am.
It's not presenting, sir. We could see the slide, sir, but it's not presenting.
Sir Keso, isend na lang sa ako sa messenger
Okay,
ang
ma'am.
imong
Okay, ma'am.
PowerPoint, ako'y mag-share.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so while waiting again, students, can I ask you what are the things that you'd like to look forward for today's webinar? Can I hear someone? Miss Hazel Karumba? Hazel? Are you there? Wala. Are there things that you'd like to look forward for today's session?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Guys, nasend na ko sa imo akong slide. Karing na to. Okay, my dear students and everyone, my apology for technical error. Okay, I was expecting this one. Well, anyway, I was not prepared because I thought it's 10 a.m. mag-start, so early man dahil siya, so it's okay. So wala ko kasagang, no? Well, anyway, today's weather is very good, no? Kay dili kayo siya kasi wala siyang ulan. Okay, so makita na akong slide. Salamat kay Ma'am Naisa. Okay. Based on the slide, my dear listeners out there, especially the students, what have you noticed? Okay. What have you noticed? What have you noticed? Oh, turn off your microphone.
Okay, nara ka na.
You turn off your microphone out there. Okay. Okay, based on the pictures or the slides yung makita sa presentation, what have you noticed? Diba? These are all natural phenomenon. The baha, the sunog, and whatsoever nga yung makita sa slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. Those are natural disasters. Diba? Natural disasters. Okay. Republic Act number 10121. This is an act strengthening the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management System. Okay, this is a system providing for the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Framework and institutionalizing the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes. Okay, this act shall be known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management of 2010. Okay, di ba? Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management of 2010. Ingon si Ma'am Limpa ganiha nga this is very important yun. Kinahanglan ta makatuon ani, it's because dili lang siya para sa atoa, kung dili para po sa atong pamilya. We have to know the value of this act. Diba? Ingon ni Ma'am Limpa. It is very, very, very true. Okay. Next, we have here, what is disaster risk reduction? Okay, next slide please, Ma'am Nice. Ay, kalima nga slide. Okay, so what is disaster risk reduction? Okay, it is a systematic approach to identifying. You have to know, to assess and reduce the risk of disaster. It aims to reduce socio-economic vulnerabilities to disaster as well as the dealing with the environment and other hazards that trigger them. By this definition, it is imperative to note that disaster risk reduction has been one of the more important issues by every nation because of the research of vulnerability that have appeared even in the early 70s. Remember, my dear students out there, okay, di ba? We could not say na makaingon ta nga dili pa na mahitabo ang bagyo. Diba? Dili pa na siya mahitabo ang mga natural disasters. Diba? Kasi noon, sa una nga panahon class, I'm sorry. Sa una nga panahon manggod kay we are the somewhat like atong gobyerno sa una nga panahon, they are karang reactive pa ba? Diba? Reactive pa kay wala lang pag nanay kining kuan. Okay. Ayaw pa mag-react kung naanay nahitabo. Diba? Ayaw pa ta mag-react pag naanay may tabo. Pero because of this act or law, kini nga balaod, okay, nahimo tang proactive. We are preparing, diba? We are preparing for basig na mahitabo na po ni siya utro, of course, at least we are prepared. Diba? Okay. Here, slide number 6, Ma'am Nice, please. Okay, so here, the Commonwealth Era. Okay, let me ask you, my dear, who was the president during the Commonwealth period? Be, kinsa ra ko na be? Kailan ba mo sa kining kuan? The president during the Commonwealth period? Rina, kailan ba kakang kuan? The president during the Commonwealth era? Okay. Okay. So during the Commonwealth period, okay, during the Commonwealth period, my dear, okay, very good. That's Manuel L. Quezon. Okay. During the Commonwealth period, Executive Orders number 335 and 337 was promulgated by then the President Manuel L. Quezon, which was focused on the creation of Civilian Emergency Administration or CEA through the National Emergency Commission or NEC to formulate and execute policies and plans for the protection and welfare of the civilian population under extraordinary and emergency conditions. So it was the late President Manuel L. Quezon that promulgated these executive orders. Okay? It was his idea nga, of course, for the benefit of the people, of the civilian, of course, he will do this para sa atua. Diba? Okay, next. During the Japanese occupation. That's slide number 7, Ma'am Nice. In this point of time, the then President Jose P. Laurel issued Executive Order number 36, which created the Civilian Protection Service or CPS and was tasked to formulate and execute plans and policies for the protection of civilian population during the raids of and other emergencies. The CPS is composed of Civilian Protection Administrator, the Chief of the then called Air Warden, and the Chief of the Medical and First Aid Service. Okay, it was Jose P. Laurel. Okay, now the birth of disaster and calamity plans in the Philippines. Okay, it was in October 19, 1970 when an departmental planning group on disasters and calamities was approved by the Office of the President due to the aftermath of Typhoon Shenyang. Okay, di ba? Way back then, our government, di ba, they are reactive. Di ba? Ayaw ata mag-react if naanay mahitabo. But then, later on, they realized that this is very important to plan ahead. Diba? We need to plan ahead. Kaya kung naana po yung muabot nga natural disasters or calamities, of course, we are ready. Diba? Ma-reduce ang fatalities or of course, we know something what to do. Right? Okay. Next, here, the plan has provided for the creation of a National Disaster Control Center. Diba? Your next slide. The National Disaster Control Center. Slide number 9, Ma'am Nice. Which was created on October 1970. Okay. The National Disaster Coordinating Council created under the PD or the Presidential Decree 1566. It serves as the highest policy-making body for disaster in the country and includes almost all department secretaries as members. No? Inana siya ka-importante ang kani siya nga law nga atong gina-discuss today. Ba? Very important because it will cost lives. Ba? Sabi nila, do you love your family? Ba? Mahal mo ba yung pamilya mo? Okay. Yes, of course, di ba? Kinsabi wala lang sa itong pamilya. That is why we know we have to know something out of this law. Kinahanglan ta ba kahibalo? Di ba? Okay. So, the disaster coordinating councils or the DCCs from the regional, provincial, city, and municipal level, on the other hand, are composed of representatives of national government agencies operating at these levels and local concern. Remember, my dear listeners, especially my dear students, okay, the DCCs or the Disaster Coordinating Councils were composed of the regional, province, the city, and the municipal level. Dili lang kay dito sa sentro, apil diri sa ubos and apil sa atong kabaranggayan. Diba? That is why kung matingala mo nga nagunsa man sila diha, nalagay sila mga uniform diha. Okay. Those are the members, even ikaw pwede ka makapil ana. Basta kay concern lang ka and of course na kay knowledge about doing something. Diba? So I remember something, my dear. Okay, naka-appeal ko sa seminar sa katong sa BFP unsa to sila nilang kuan nga. Okay, they are telling us na kasi kata yung mga Pilipino, kita mga tao magud ka always na maingon nga. Hey, giabot sa ding bombero ulahi naugdaw na ang balay ulahi na. And then of course, sila magud, my dear, they have the so-called 7-minute nga tagani 7 minutes daw kuno nga kinahanglan maabot na sila sa area. 7 minutes kinahanglan maabot na sila sa area, but then it so happen nga we are talking about something nga nung dugay sila gaabot. The number one question is that na ba kay contact number sa ilaha? Diba? Na kay contact number, nakapanawag ba ka? Number 2, is it clear or istorya ba ni magtarong ang imong intention? Kay there are lots of people manggod nga prank callers. Nagato sila dito, wala day sunog di ay. Diba? And there is corresponding balaod ana, pwede ta mapreso ana. Diba? Okay. So, number 3 is that the area also, unsa kadak ang kalayo or unsa ba kadak ang sunog, diba? Number 1, my dear, you have to remember nga if ever may tabo simba ko lang, kinahanglan na kay number sa what's this? Number sa BFP or dili ka manawag sa pulis sa pulis, patya ning kalayo. No. 'Di ba? Atong tawagan of course ang agency nga sila ang mo correspond ang mga sunog or whatsoever. Okay, 'di ba? We need to have their numbers, their hotline. And of course, if you speak, nalaki number sila, manawag ka sa ila, control yourself. Kaya usahay, magtawag sa ila, magkurog-kurog. Wala na kamasabta ni noon. Of course, makaingon sila nga, oy, prank ni. Diba? So, kinahanglan na kayo sakto nga, naka sa presence of mind. Di lang sa sunog, sa tanan nga kalamidad nga mabot sa atong lugar. Presence of mind. Diba? Okay. Here, the World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction is series of United Nations conferences focusing on disaster and climate risk management in the context of sustainable development. Remember, my dear, dili lang kay ang Pilipinas ang naka-experience ani. 'Di ba? Tibuok kalibutan experiencing the natural disasters. 'Di ba? Okay. So here, the WCDDR from January 18 up to 2005, okay, dito sila sa Hyogo, Japan or Kobe, Hyogo, Japan. They are creating a framework. They call it the Hyogo Framework. Okay, it is a global blueprint for disaster risk reduction efforts during the next decade. Okay, dili lang, di ba? Dili para karon, kundi para sa umaabot ng mga panahon. And of course, they have 168 member states, included the Philippines, Apilta and Dana. And that is why, okay, sa, di ba, as the record, ang record dato kung itong basihan, mas lesser na ang fatalities. Kung atong i-base gikan sa 2010, paingon sa 2022. Pero sa 2009, paubos, of course, di ba? Next you have here, okay, the Hyogo Framework as adopted in the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan. Here, the Hyogo Framework for Action or the HFA is the foremost plan to give details, describe and detail the work that is required from all different sectors and actors to decrease disaster fatalities. Who are those actors? Diba? Kinsa man ang mga lumilihok diha. Of course, kung dili manggaling sila, of course, kita nga naay knowledge about something. Okay, my dear students, dili kinahanglan nga kwanta member ta sa usa ka sekta para motabang. Ba? We have to know about something, of course, para mas makatabang ta. Dili kay, for example, if you have no knowledge about the 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 issue, or wala kay insakto knowledge about the what's this, the catastrophe or unsa baka na diha nga mga panghitabo, of course, ayaw na lang pag-apil-apil kay basig ikaw mismo ang tabangon noon, di ba? Okay, so here it was developed and agreed on with the many partners needed to reduce disaster risks: governments, international agencies, disaster experts, and many others, bringing them into a common system coordination. The HFA outlines 5 priorities for action and offers guiding principles and practical means for achieving disaster resilience. Okay, naay 5 ka outlines. Okay, later on ako na siya discuss. Okay, so have you remember the Yolanda? Kato bitong Yolanda bitong nahitabo sa Tacloban? Ay di ba? Grabe kaayo ang fatalities ato. And of course, because we are not wala ta kay balon unsa nang storm surge. Wala kay siya na-discuss unsa nang storm surge. We don't know. Storm surge lang, wala lang. Because wala kay siya natagaan og emphasis. Diba? There are lots of people nga nangaangin dito nga tungod kay balita lang nga bagyo, storm surge, wala siya na discuss pag ay unsay maabot ana unsay may tabo sa storm surge. Diba? If ever na discuss lang tong insakto, of course, dili unta inadto kadaghan ang fatalities. Diba? And good thing because we are member of this HFA, and then there are lots of people, foreign people nga naghatag sa tog donation na makatabang sa ato. And siguro wala ta kabalo kung sa nahitabo natong lugar, ug wa po ta kabalo unsa nahitabo natong budget nga ilang gihatag, di nato siya discuss. Okay, these are the 5 outlines, priorities for action. Okay, the Hugo framework for action, priorities for action. Number 1, make disaster risk reduction a priority because we value life. Bahala na ng mga botang diha, mga unsa na diha. But we value life, so that is why this law is a priority. Make it a priority. Ensure that disaster risk reduction is a national and local priority with a strong institutional basis for implementation. Kinahanglan sa atong barangay na agitay mga tao diha gumaglihok ani. And of course, kini siya class, I mean my dear students, listeners, naatay corresponding budget pod ani allotted ani. Ba? Because wala ta kahibalo kung kanos muabot nining mga bagyo uno sa atong lugar. Di ba? Okay. Next, we have to know the risk and take action. Identify, assess, and monitor disaster risk and enhance early warning. Diba? Kaya nga, meron tayong pag-asa. Meron tayong PBOX. Diba? Those are the agencies nga magpahibalo sa ato nga, of course, na bagyo, na linog. Diba? They have to monitor those disaster para to let the people aware nga na inana, and of course kita ma-ready punta, di ba? Okay. And for those listeners nga hilig og cellphone, di ba? Please kanang Ndrmc diha nga mga messages ayaw na i-take for granted because that is very important. Di ba? Very important. Okay, if you can still remember, nahitabo sa ato during the Odette, the Bagyong Odette, di ba? The Ndrmc are always reminding us that this is orange warning, red warning, samot ng red warning, di ba? So ayaw i-take for granted. If you know something, pwede na ka maka-evacuate, then do it. But you don't need to hulat-hulat pa diha nga, hinay ra ning ulan, sir. Hinay ra ning hangin, sir. No. Diba? Because our life is so precious. Diba? Kinahanglan ta nga, of course, evacuate. Dalhan na tanan diha. Bahalag untin ka ng mga butang diha. Ibiyo na tanan. Importante ikaw. Diba? Na, gitsatan naman ka. Gitsatan, na naman kay kini ang warning diha. So, nakaw na. Okay, next, number 3. Build understanding and awareness. Use knowledge, innovation, and education to build a culture of safety and resilience at all levels. Use your kokote. Because you attend some kanang mga webinars, seminars regarding ng environmental awareness and everything nga mas makatabang og makapalambo sa imuha. Diba? Okay, next we have here, reduce risk. Reduce the underlying risk factor. And number 5, be prepared and ready to act. Strengthen disaster preparedness for effective response at all level. Okay, so those are the what's this the 5 priorities for action of yoga framework. So I hope ibutang na to, isilsil na to sa atong una-una, dili lang kay igora na, igora bitaw na, kuan bitaw, di bitaw siya priority bitaw, dili bitaw na siya, kuan, basta-basta lang bitaw na siya, basta makapaminaw lang ko, okay na. No. Yeah, remember that everybody could be a hero, diba? Pwede kitang, lahat tayo pwedeng maging bayani. Diba? So, if you know something about this, or nakay ka, makatabang magbunta if natay knowledge about this. Saan pagalig wala, diba? Kay Filipino, mga Pinoy manggod, we are known to be a hospitable person. Sa tibok kalibutan, kita ang ang pinaka-hospitable. That is why nga, of course, ato ning magamit. Ato ning mahatagan og kini ang bili. Okay, next to here, the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. Okay. In the midst of continuous assail of different calamities in the Philippines, the Aquino administration promulgated Republic Act 10121, otherwise known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. Okay, that shifted the focus from disaster response and recovery towards disaster risk reduction, preparedness, and alleviation. Okay, what important points of this act? Okay, one is the composition of the National Risk Reduction and Management Council. Okay, the National Council shall be headed by the Secretary of the Department of Defense. Sir, bakit kaya? Nga naman, sir, nga nandito yung DND or the National Defense or Department of National. Bakit, sir, nga nung naaman sila, sir? It is because, my dear listeners, my dear students out there, they are the one, manggod, nga, they are the one who are assigned kung na maglabay-labay dahil sa kahanginan to have to oversee kung unsa na yung mga nanghitabo di ang lugar. Diba? As a chairperson with the Secretary of Department of Interior and Local Government, or the DILG, and as the Vice President for Disaster Preparedness, the Secretary of the Department of Social, or DSWD, and of course, the Vice Chairperson for Disaster Response, the Secretary of the DOST. Sir, bakit mayroong DOST dito, sir? Anong appeal niyan DOST dito, sir? Okay. So, of course, they are the scientists, diba, kumbaga, they are the people in charge kung unsa na banis nila. Diba? They are kanang mga tao na sa pag-asa or sa PBOX, or they are in charge for kini ang ilang taon about for the katong ang gisulti kanina nga to look in advance kung unsa bay potential ani nga bagyo ni unsa ba kana siya mahitabo dani, no. Okay, so here We have here also the NEDA as the Vice Chairperson for Disaster Rehabilitation and Recovery. Number two, the power and function of NDRRMC. Develop the NDRRMF, which shall provide for comprehensive, all-hazard, multi-sectoral, interagency, and community-based approach to disaster risk reduction and management. Okay? Advise the President on the status of disaster preparedness, prevention, mitigation, response, and rehabilitation operations being undertaken by the government, the CSOs, the private sectors, and volunteers. Recommend that the President and the declaration of the state of calamity in areas extensively damaged, and of course, um, and submit proposals to restore normalcy in the affected areas, to include calamity fund relocation. Take note, class, daghan pay assessment buhaton to nga matawag ang isa ka lugar nga under state of calamity, right? Okay, here, ensure multi-stakeholders participation in the development, updating and sharing of a disaster risk reduction and management information system and geographic information system based national risk map as policy, planning, and decision-making tools. So those are the powers and function of the NDRRMC, or the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council. So naatay council ana, my dear listeners. So dili lang siya kay buot lang, char lang, because sa ato nang isulti or ibalik nga, we are preparing, di ba? We are preparing sa dili magaling taga-wish nga yan ang mahitabo, but then at least we are prepared, di ba? We anticipate nga inanigid siguro ang mahitabo. It's because nahitabo naman gud siya before. Okay? Here, next, establish a national early warning and emergency alert system to provide accurate and time advice to national or local emergency response and organization, and to the general public through diverse mass media, to include digital and analog broadcast, cable, satellite television, and radio. Wireless communication, mao na atong ma-receive sa kuan nga mga orange warning, di ba? Kumbaga mga nga ma-receive nato sa tong phone, di ba? So that is why very important gyud ang cellphone nato or kana atong social media, dili lang kay para lang sa atong mga para lang sa uyab, para lang sa kini, para sa pamilya. Okay. Para po na ma-aware ta nga inanay ay na ay warning. Na dili na kakinahanglan mo ato sa pikas lugar, dili na kakinahanglan mo adto dito. It's because warning. Diba? Na magid naka-indicate diha nga orange warning, Davao, Del Sur, ana, and so on. Okay, next up here, develop appropriate risk transfer mechanism that shall guarantee social and economic protection and increase resiliency in the face of disaster. Monitor the development and enforcement by agencies and organizations of the various laws, guidelines, codes, or technical standards required by this act. Review. Sa itong waton disunod. Di ba? Okay. Next here, the organization of DRRM at regional level. Okay. The current Regional Disaster Coordinating Council or our RDCC shall henceforth be known as the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Councils, or RDRRMCs, which shall coordinate, integrate, supervise, and evaluate the activities of the LDRRMCs. What is the LDRRMCs? Those are the local, okay, from regional to local. Diri sa atong Balingasag, LGU sa atong local government diri sa Balingasag. Okay. The RDRRMC shall be responsible in ensuring disaster-sensitive regional development plans, and in case of emergencies, shall convene the different regional line agencies, and concerned institutions and authorities. Remember, always bear in mind na every 6 months or siguro every month, the learnings of this personnel gikan sa LGU dili na siya mag-stagnant. Kinahanglan siya nga mo join sa mga webinars, seminars, of course, to have the idea nga naa pagiday mas insakto nga buhaton para pod mo grow ang isa ka individual, no? Okay. Number 4, we have here the organization at local government level. The existing provincial, city, and municipal disaster coordinating council shall henceforth to be known as the provincial, city, and municipal disaster risk reduction and management councils, or the Ndrmc. Okay. The Barangay Disaster Coordinating Council shall cease to exist, and its power and functions shall henceforth be assumed by the existing Barangay Development Council, or the BDCs, which shall serve as the LDRRMCs in every barangay. So, gikan sa local, amo sa barangay. And of course, the head of your barangay is your barangay captain. And of course, the barangay captain also, he needs to communicate well, di ba? Sa atong local nga pangagamahanan sa atong municipality. Okay? Next, the LDRRMC shall composed of, but not limited to, the following. Number 1, the local chief executives, the chairperson, the local planning and development officers or its members, the head of the LDRRMO, remember, kinsa may head sa atong LDRRMO, of course, atong municipal mayor. Okay. The head of the local social welfare and development, the DSWD, and of course, the head of the local office, the member. So these are the composition of the LDRRMCs. Okay. Here. Next, the barangay or the director, city, municipal chief of the Philippine National Police, or the PNP. Okay. As you can see, these are all the collaboration of the people nga nasa atong lungsod. Dili lang kay isa ra ang naglihok, di ba? The collaboration, the provincial director, city, municipal fire marshal of the Bureau of Fire Protection, apil gihapon, the president of the Association of Barangay Captains, the ABCs, the Association of the President Barangay Captains, and the Philippine National Red Cross. Diba? These are very important also because ang mga mangita ba wala mo kakabalo kung naunsa ba to siya, di ba? Nahutdan mo tugdugo kay napulbaan, namlospad, di ba? Okay, so accredited CSOs and 1 private sector's representative member. Di ba? Apil na ni ang mga private sectors, apil ang mga eskwelahan ani. That is why we are having our what's this, study about this. And of course, pag mabot mo sa college, my dear, NSTP ato lang madiskasan. Okay. So here, the LDRRMCs shall have the following functions. Approve, monitor, and evaluate the implementation of the LDRMPs, and regularly review the test the plan considered consistent with other national and local planning programs. Okay, i-check, i-monitor, of course, dili lang kay ayara i-monitor, of course, kung naana sa punto nga, oy, nakagubot na. Sa naitabo, di ba? Of course, they need to plan ahead because that is their function. Okay. Ensure the integration of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation into local development plans, programs, and budget, and as a strategy in sustainable development and poverty reduction. Diba? After what happened, unsa may buhaton? Unsa may buhaton after the calamities? Unsa man ang buhaton? sa katong mga biktima, diba? So mura ang mga function nila. Okay, recommend the implementation of forced or preemptive evacuation of local residents if necessary, and convene the local council once every 3 months or as necessary. Here, 5, the local disaster reduction and management office, or the LDRRMO, the office. Asa man na mahimutang. Of course, naagi na siya kinahanglan na ay office diha sa atong municipality o sa atong munisipyo, o napoy office diha kinahanglan sa atong barangay. Dili pwede nga naa. It is because it is a need for those individual nga makatagamtam niini or maka-experience ani nga mga calamities or whatsoever nga mga calamities sa atong lugar. Kinahanglan ma-address ginaon sa may nahitabo sa inyo nay. Okay, what happened to your house then? Naanod sa baha na? Oo kap, naanod sa baha kap. Dito naman ako sa dagat karon. Diba? Okay. So, there shall be established an LDRRMO in every province, city, and municipality. And of course, a barangay disaster risk reduction and management committee in every barangay, which shall be responsible for setting the direction, development, implementation, and coordination of disaster risk management program within their territorial jurisdiction. Okay, di ba? Sa ato manggod nga, sa atong pangutok karon, sa atong mindset karon, my dear students diha. Sa ato wala pa gini siya, as in wala, blanco lang ko. May tabo, malibre lang ako akong self, okay lang. Ba? Pero at least, please bear in mind, and of course, have the presence in mind if ever na may tabo nga inani ng mga natural disasters or mga kalamidad. Please, gamito nato atong natun-an. Gamito nato atong nabaw-an. No? Dili lang kay ta actually very very nice on po na use our gadget. Our gadget nga mag-video ka diha. Pero what if wala kay signal? Ba? So you need to go to other places pa para magka-signal. Which is better? Wadto ka sa opisina sa yung barangay to tell them nga mo nang nahitabo ana, di ba? Okay, sorry. Next, the LDRRMO shall be under the office of the governor, city or municipal mayor, and the punong barangay in case of DDRRMC. Okay, next here, the LDRRMOs shall be initially organized and composed of the RRMO to be assisted by 3 staff responsible for 1 administration and training. Diba? Kinahanglan lagi tag training ani class, my dear listeners, my dear students. Kinahanglan tag training ani. Diba? Research and planning, operation and warning. Diba? It is a need yun nga we have that the trick Dani. Diba? Ma-train ta, diba? Natay training. Hindi lang pwede nga mag-assist lang nga wala tayong sakto nga training because might be ikaw ang tabangunin noon. Ikaw ang may mong babag kumbaga, no? So of course, there are responsible person na mag-administer sa to train somebody. Okay. So next, declaration of the state of calamity. Okay. My dear students, dili pwedeng ang isa ka lugar declared sa state of calamity kung wala naka-follow sa standard or wala naka-follow sa isa ka sila ginatag nga what's the tawag ani? Ginatag nga list of standard kumbaga. No? Okay, so here, the National Council shall recommend to the President of the Philippines the declaration of the cluster or of a cluster of barangays, municipalities, cities, provinces, and regions under a state of calamity, and the lifting thereof based on the criteria. So, nada siya criteria. Dito siya standard criteria set by the National Council. Okay. Dili siya pwede class or my dear students, di siya pwede nga mag-declare of state of calamity kung wala nakasunod sa criteria. Sir, kinahanglan pa gid lugar nga kana among lugar diha maanod tanan sa baha para mag-declare of state of calamity? No. Di sa siguro, no? Okay. The President's declaration may warrant international humanitarian assistance as deemly necessary. Okay, just like katong example kanina, di ba? Of course, the President has the power to ask international kini ang help kapag tabang sa lain lugar. Diba? Of course, kaya makita ang po nato kung sa problema kung need na gid siya nga lugar nga tagaan og kini ang what's this pagtagad or need na gid siya ang tagaan og tagaan og assistance. Okay. Here, the NDRRM plan from 2011. Bear in mind that the law was promulgated 2010 by the Aquino administration. So here are the plan or the NDRRM plan 2011 paingon sa 2028. So di pala pang kuan lang, pang 2010 lang, pang 2028 pala pang for the future pala. So here the NDRMP executes a necessity of RA 10121 of 2010, which provides the legal basis for policies, plans, and programs to deal with disasters. Okay, it covers 4 very important areas, namely disaster prevention. Kasi nga sabi nila, this prevention is better than cure. Diba? Okay, how can we prevent how can we prevent kanang mga natural disasters? Though dili na to siya malikayan, but then of course we can prevent. Diba? These are very important. Nga kinahanglan that we have to know something on what to do, ba? How to do it, or of course, kay aware man ta nga inani siyang mahitabo. Diba? Disaster preparedness. Dapat prepared ka. Parang huwag lang patulog-tulog lang ka diha. And how will you respond kung naana na siya? Diba? Next, review disaster rehabilitation and recovery, which corresponds to the structure of NDRRMC. Okay, of course, if such place naka-experience, and how will they recover? Of course, that's the plan of those the plan of the law, diba? So a plan of RA. Of course, these things may happen. Of course, we will plan ahead. These things may occur. Of course, we will plan ahead. And i-anticipate man ginang may tabo na siya, of course, di ba? So magplano lang tayo. It's because prevention is better than cure. Okay, these are 4 areas should mutually reinforce and complement each other. But sometimes atong agencies galumba nga paunahay yung contest. Pero dapat yun, we have to complement each other. They have to complement each other. Diba? Kwao na ang politika diha. Kwao na supposedly walay involved na politics, and it's because we are we are into the saving of lives, into saving lives of many people. So dapat we need to reinforce and complement each other. Every agency kinahanglan magtinabangay. Okay, do not and should not and cannot stand alone as they are inextricably linked. Okay, have no clear starting nor ending points between each other. Other and overlaps are expected. Are centered on problem, needs and asset strengths. Point to one direction, reduce people's vulnerabilities, and increasing their capacities. Okay, these are the areas that we should do. Okay. Next, the formulation of NDRRMP. On June 16, this is a brief overview lang. Okay. On June 16, 2011, when the NDRRMF had been approved, NDRRMP came into conception and became the product of a consultative multi-stakeholder consultative process. It was a product of the centered efforts from the national government, line agencies, and local government units, civil society groups from regional and to national level. The plan is a child of logical framework agreed upon by the technical management group aligned with various frameworks such as Strategic National Action Plan, KRA, and of course, the kato atong gisgutan ngayon nga Hyogo framework. Okay, what are the contents of the plan or the content of the plan? Okay, the NDRRMP goals are to be achieved until 2028 through 14 objectives, 24 outcomes, 56 outputs, 23 activities. The plan details lead agencies, implementing partners, and timelines under each of the four distinct yet mutually reinforcing priority areas. The long-term goals targeted by the priority areas leads to attaining the country's overall DRRM vision. Okay. So these are the contents of DRRM. Okay. Risk profile and state of DRRMs in the Philippines. Development policies, challenges, and opportunities. The National DRRM Plan. Priority areas and long-term goals. Okay. So these are the contents of the what's this? Content plan of the DRRM. Next, what are the highlights of the plan? Here, the need for institutionalizing DRRM policies. Kinahanglan gid siya i-duk-duk diha. Kinahanglan siya sundon gid siya. Because this is a law also. Okay. Structures, coordinations, mechanisms, and programs with continuing budget appropriation on DRR from national down to the local levels. Diba? Nala siya ka-importante, di lang kay char-char lang siya nga law. Because it will help us to have the prevention of having kanang multiple fatalities. Diba? Okay. So next review, number 2, the importance of mainstreaming the RRM and climate change adaptation in the development process, such as policy formulation, socio-economic development planning, budgeting, and governance, particularly in the area of environment, agriculture, water, energy, health, education, poverty reduction, land use and urban planning, and public infrastructure and housing, among others. That is why, di ba, after the said catastrophe or the natural disasters, of course, there are planned na housing program. Kasi asa man to nimo ipakatulog tong mga mga victims. Di ba? And of course, with the corresponding budget pud na siya, di ba? It will talk about budget. And those are plans. Plans are plan. Plan lagi na siya, plano na siya kung dili matagaan og importance. Diba? Okay, next we have here, competency and science-based capacity building activities alongside the nurturing and continuous learning through knowledge development and management of good DRM practices on the ground. Is it really good? Okay ba na siya? Diba? Nahaba ka tayo, kuha na niyo, sakto ba ka itong gipambuhat ha? Or char-char lang ni, basta lang kayo makita sa camera. No? Okay. So, take note ha, dili lang kay para na siya sa isa katuig lang nga plano. Ba? Para po ni padulong sa pinakataas nga abton kung unsa pa yung mga kinahanglan pang imagine mo 2011 plan from 2011 up to 2028. About sa 2028, sir, another na pod. Might be. But then this is very important nga ato siyang may bawaan ha. We need to know the essence of the law. Because the common goal kasi dito is that the law preserves life. Diba? The law gives us the overview on how to be prepared to on how to be how to prevent such fatalities or to prevent the damage, di ba? Okay. Next we have here letter D. The inclusion of human-induced disasters that result in internal displaced person, public anxiety, loss of lives, destruction of property, and sometimes socio-political stability. Encompassing conflict resolution approaches, the plan seeks to mainstream the RM into a peace process. Okay. My dear students, no, this is very, di ba? We experienced this one. No? So this dako na under ni siya sa kining kuan. Highlight sa plano sa this law. Diba? We experienced we lost our property tungod sa dili manggaling siya sa natural disaster, but then di ba imagine losing something, mawadan ka something, di ba? It's very painful. Sakitan manggalitag wala tang kuan, wala tag uyab. Sana all, di ba? Sakitan manggalita. How much more kung ang kinabuhi gid mawala? It's because wala ta nagpakabana. Diba? Okay. So let us try to imagine if something happens, and of course nakakay knowledge about doing it, pero wala na magigamit. Mayroon ka sanang chance na-save mo yung isang kaibigan or isang taong malapit sa'yo, pero hindi mo ginawa kasi wala. Di ba? Okay, that is why we have here the law nga kinahanglan to we need to study or to know, di ba? Kinahanglan tama kay baloani kay very important man. Okay, next we emphasis gender responsive and rights-based sustainable development. Number, okay, monitoring and evaluating the plan. Okay. Results-based programming will be used to ensure that implementation is on time and learning from experiences is based into the DRRM system. Based on experience, learning from those experiences. Do we need to commit the same mistake? Of course, dili na ba? Okay, nangyari na ito noon. Kinahanglan ba babalikan pa nato na siya? Di ba murag? Okay, those are the DRM system nga kinahanglan nila na ilang lantawon ang previous experiences nila or kinahanglan to lantawon ang previous nga mga pangitabo. It's because lisod balikan ang sa unang panahon. O lisod balikan ang wala na. Diba? Sana all. Okay, the Office of the Civil Defense will develop a technical management group. The stages of monitoring include the LGU, the regional and national levels. Yearly reporting will be done. Okay, yearly my dear students, yearly, di siya 6 months. Yearly reporting will be done by Ndrmc through the OCD to the Office of the President, Senate, and House of Representatives within the quarter of the succeeding year. Okay, so simple ways on disaster risk reduction management. Okay, know the disaster that could hit where you live. Okay, that is the use of your cell phone. Diba katong mga gipanghatag nga mga orange warning NDRMC. Kasi minsan mayroon ko narinig may pa si NDRMC na pay warning pero siya kay wala gi warning gilakaw ra diretso. Diba? Wala warning siya gilakaw giyaan na diretso. May pa si NDRMC. Sana all. Okay. You can get this information from the local Red Cross or your local emergency management office. Okay. Next, plan escape routine. Plan escape routine. Plan escape route in case of disaster. There should be 2 exits from every room. Draw the escape route out so kids can see and know where to go. Okay. So, I have an example here. So, di ba, sa balay na to, within the 4 corners of our house, we have our window. Of course, that window supposed to be naka-glass yung window natin. But then, merong nilagay na mga grills. Diba sa ating window, meron nilagay na mga grills. And then, you only have 1 exit. Yung entrance door ninyo, yun din yung ginagamit nating exit door. Diba? Sometimes. Pero, merong mga cases na it happens na pulong sa loob ng bahay kasi nga, wala na nakakakuha, nasunog ang atubangan. Asam siya magawas? Diba? And don't say na, sir, sa CR ko magtago, it's safe kasi sa CR. No. Diba? Dapat yun na kay plan A, plan B. Dapat ang balay na siya duha ka exit. Okay. If ever, sir, isa lang mag-exit ang balay, sir. Bintana na mag siya. Ang bintana pag nato na siya mga grills. No, it happens na hitabo na siya class sa katong nasunog sa parang gilabay-labayan na sa tao in town. Nasunog ang mamang ang bata. Diba? So, sa atong house, if possible, if naka-grills manggaling siya, of course, kana tong grills, butangan nato siya mini, na gamay na ka ng agianan lang. Kasi hindi natin alam talaga yung mangyayari. Diba? And of course, mas better, diba, nga advance na mag-isip na yung sa grills natin, my dear, dapat daw, sabi, based po sa narinig ko or nabasa naman talaga, narinig ko na. Sabi kasi, grills natin dapat lagyan natin ng, kaya itong gamay siya nga hole, gamay siya nga bangag, kumbaga ba. Pero dili siya intended kasi yung bahay natin talagang para safety man sa mayroong mga akyat bahay, di ba? Dili siya butangan yung sukan. But then, of course, kanang kwan niya, gamay siya nga marag more siya portahan siya kumbaga. If ever something happens, so pwede ka dito mo gawas, pwede ka ma-exit dito kung wala man kang lain ka exitan galing. No? Butangin lang na siya sa yabi. Right? Okay, next. Of course, tagaan mo magbutang ka sa samot akong imong balay kay lakok ka sa imong balay tapos tulong mo nagpuyo. Ikaw, imong papa o imong mama. Of course, kinahanglan ka magbutang na sa fire exit diya. Baka mo pertahan na asa dapit ang kuan sa balay, asa dapit ka pwede mo gawas if something happens. O pa maglinog kung sa may buhaton. Nagtago sa ilalom sa lamisa na ang lamisa kay plastic, lata, impas. Diba? Okay, next you have here, plan an evacuation route in case you need to leave the area. Know the nearest shelter area you should head to in case of natural disaster strikes. Okay, put together a disaster supply kit. Make sure everyone in your family is aware of the escape and evacuation routes and the location of the disaster supply kit. Practice your plan and check supplies on a routine basis. Okay, dili kay igo ra mag churba-churba diha. Igo ra mag nakabutang na diha, mora dayon. Mora, igo ra decoration. So okay, those are the important or the importance of this act or the Republic Act 10121. So thank you so much for your attendance, and I hope you learned something out of our topic today. Salamat kayo and magandang buhay.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Keza, for that very informative, no, and very timely nga topic since no we are currently experiencing bagyo, sir, right? So at this juncture, we will go ahead and take some time for your questions now, students. So if you have some questions, you can unmute your mic to speak or just type away questions and I'll be gladly to read it for you. Is there any questions, students?
Ma'am Noims, can I add?
Yes, sir. Yes, Dr.
This is just a rejoinder of what Sir Keso have been telling us on the NDRRMP. No, just to give you a summary of what had discussed this morning of Sir Keso. It's more on the responsibility of every stakeholders who are a part of the NDRRMP. NDRRMC is the council of all agencies. This is participated among all agencies, national, regional, and local agencies. No? So local agencies, mga LGUs, they are part of it because they come up with the NDRRMP. It's a plan, it's a roadmap for 2028, of which this was collaborated among agencies if there are disasters. Disasters like there are typhoons, earthquake, and all, no, flood and all. So naan na siya ready na mga evacuation centers. This was planned by the LGUs. Naan na siya ready na in case there are emergency cases, all of these agencies will have to functions. DSWD, what are the rules of the DSWD? If there are disasters, they are responsible on food distributions. So sa kanila na yan lahat. Those are functions of the SWD. Pag isabi mo LGUs, what are the rules of LGUs? The local government. So ang rule nila, the barangays and the municipalities, they are engaged more on evacuation centers. Yun ang rule nila. Nakaangkla siya on that roadmap of 2028 as discussed. So, yun ang ibig sabihin, yung plan ng NDRRMP. As what I have said, to give you that direction, the role of the NDRRMC, the council, was composed all agencies from the office of the president down to the local government. So all of the agencies has their own functions, has their own um, responsibilities. So lahat ng mga agencies na yan, even in education sector, unsay role ng CHED, unsay role ng TESDA, unsay role ng DPWH, lahat yan kinuha yan, inaangkla dun sa roadmap ng roadmap of 2028. So after the 2028, there will be another roadmap again for another 10 years plan. This was anchored to all agencies, no, para mas clearer sa inyo ang RA as presented ni Sir Quezon. So I repeat, the council are composed all agencies nationwide. Then they come up with the plan, the road plan that 2028 mo end. And then this 2028 na mga plans, these are also anchored on the responsibility of every agency. Automatic na sila. Pag moingon na ay nalunod, nalunod na barko, automatic na ang port authority ang naay responsibility, ang mga coast guard mudaga na, those are their responsibilities which was anchored on their own functions as an agency. Okay? So yun lang siguro ang akong i-add on ni Sir Quezon. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Doc. That is our Vice President for Academic Affairs. Thank you so much, Doc, Dr. Sol. Any questions again, students, for our speakers? We would like gladly to accept it. Can I? Again, if you have some questions, not just from the students, but also from the teachers. If you have some questions, you can unmute your mic or just type away your questions to those who are having trouble with their internet connections. Wala. Last call. Any questions from our students? Nanda, according to Kurt Kinlat. How about the others? Questions?
None.
Sir Case, I have some questions, Sir Case.
Yes, ma'am.
Diba, sir, we are receiving text from Ndrmc, sir, about sa mga codes and colors. Sir, like orange, red alert, etc. Is there some actions na we can do? For example, orange na ang kuan. Is there any plan that we can do sa atong balay? Or ma-designate us sa specific na lugar? The school, like for example, we receive a text from Ndrmc na orange na. Is there any actions we can do individually?
Okay. For the color codes, ma'am, actually, we have here yellow codes for Banatay na we receive a text message coming from Ndrmc that is for yellow that is for community awareness that for example there is a typhoon na moabot, and for orange that is for community alert. Dapat we need to be prepared if something happens. No, if something happens, dapat we need to be prepared. Dili manggaling siya, for example, if ever example naana siya nagkabali, for example, na typhoon, nag-ulan na, alert level for example level orange na ta. So dapat we need to prepare ourselves. For example, kumbaga nana siya ang nasa situation nga nag-ulan na, typhoon na, and of course you have to think well nga orange warning naman siya, so we need to to kuan na dili tang mag-evacuate siguro, but then we need to prepare ourselves, or for example, prepare ourselves at mga gamit niya, naka-impake na kung baga, kung for example, samot ako naka sa center of the type naka sa mata. And for red alert na, of course, that is the time that you need to respond of what is the given message sa imuha. Dapat evacuate na hawa na mula sa na lugar. Kay, for example, red alert naman siya, it's very delicate na. No? So, that is maybe the one. That is the meaning of what the color has gatag sa ato.
Thank you so much, Sir Kezo. All right. Any more questions, everyone? Teachers, students? Sir June? Ma'am Nev? Ma'am Nice? Okay. We have some questions, sir, from Anton Tubal. With regards sa na-discuss kanina po and also sa na-mention ni Doc na functions of every branch of the government for disaster management and resilience, what could be the role of young people like us students in terms of managing the detrimental effects of disasters in our community?
Tanong sa ako yung
Okay.
Wait for a while. With regards to
What could be the role of young people like us students?
okay. So of course, as a young individual like you, of course your role is that this is this is for everybody. Our role is that we need to be aware. We need to be of such kind of bitang of course we need to be to have an awareness that this the catastrophe or the disasters may tabo gina siya bisag asa nga lugar. Of course, we need to attend webinars or seminars para mas maka of course the knowledge that you gain, of course you have to transfer them sa inyong dili lang sa inyong classmate or sa inyong mga kaila, but then also sa members sa atong family. Do I answer your question, Philip? Okay, thank you so much, Philip.
Yes, Ma'am Nice.
For Anton, although the Republic Act for the risk management, risk reduction management, has assigned many government agency to handle the detrimental effect that you are talking about. So it's specifically for the young youth, maybe the most possible thing that you can do, and I know that there is shortage of volunteers in terms of packing those reliefs, those help in terms of those clothes that they needed. So I guess that will be the biggest contribution of our youth today. So for the mental advocates, for the effect in terms of advocates, so there are agencies who are already assigned on those kinds of effects. So we advise, as a mental health advocate, we advise not to talk about the volunteers, not to talk about, what happened, are you okay, what, because that will cause more trauma to the person if you are not equipped to talk about mental health. So that is a very good, actually, interest, Tubal, no, that you would like to participate in these kinds of activities. So yeah, I guess that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Nice. Anywhere? Thank you
Can,
so much,
yeah,
Philip, no, for that. Yes, Doc.
can I add, ma'am?
Yes, Doc.
Uh, this is a rejoinder of what Ma'am Nice telling us on the volunteerism. You know what? If you remember, we have last December, we have the Typhoon Odette destruct the entire Surigao del Norte, no, of which our institution, Moist, come up with an initiative to help, no, to help the victims of Odette. So we distributed the food packs to the affected areas in Surigao del Norte, no, and not just us, but there are so many private agencies who volunteered to help, to engage more on the victims, no, to help them. So this is an initiative, no, of the private entity, an individual who have that privilege to help. No, that is why if you try to take a look and check our website, our Facebook page, nakatabang ta sa what we call Tabang Surigao. Ano, so mao tong atong initiative to help, no, the government. Kasi dili kaya, if you're talking about the entire province, dili kaya ang mga agency na mutabang. That's why not just locally but there are some international private entity who volunteered to help. Bayanihan na ito eh if there are disasters, no? So the Ndrmc, of which they belong to this because this council on the government and the private sector, ito sila talaga nag-ambag-ambag to help, no. Now I just tried to give emphasis on the role of the institution. Now there's a question kanina na unsay matabang about if there are yellow colors, orange, yellow, as mentioned by Sir Queso. You know what, the CHED, the Commission on Higher Education, give the full responsibility to all Philippine higher education institutions. They don't the schools don't need an instructions from CHED, from TESDA, from the Department of Education, whether or not we will have to cancel initiative of every Philippine higher education institutions in the country will automatic na ilanang i-dismiss ang mga students to address these disasters. Yun ang responsibility, yun ang counterpart ng schools. Because the government, even the higher education institutions, the CHED, cannot just tell outright the schools because we have what we call academic freedom. We have our own identity as an institution. So, because of this council created by law, no, the NRMDC, so we are part of this as partners to the government. Then we have to do so. Then we have to follow whatever is the plan, no, of the council para walay sisihan. So that's our contribution. Aside from the voluntarism that we have, naapod tayo mga counterpart of which the president are very much engaged with the local government if there are programs and projects to be implemented within the province of Misamis Oriental. So we're always on the go. The MOIS is always there to help the community, no, of the Misamis and the neighboring towns of Balingasad. Thank you. Yun lang siguro ang i-add-on ko lang just to give clearer directions of what has been discussed this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. How about any more questions? Students, everyone? Thank you so much, Philip, for that wonderful questions. No, it's very good. We are seeing your eagerness to help in terms of disasters, etc. Okay. Any questions? No more? All right. So this is where our webinar ends. Now we want to express our deepest gratitude to Sir Kezo for being with us this morning. Thank you, sir, and sharing your insights on disaster risk reduction management system. And we learned so much today. So once again, let's give him a virtual round of applause, everyone. Okay. And also, we would like to thank all the people behind this webinar, the Guidance and Council Office. Thank you, Ma'am Nice and Ma'am Evelyn Abuela, and also to our fellow teachers and, of course, students who spared your time joining this webinar. So let's give ourselves a virtual round of applause. Okay? So, by the way, everyone, we will send evaluation form for this seminar. It's on the chat box. No, kindly or please fill in all the important, or if you have any thing to say, you can say that on the evaluation form. We would gladly hear from you. Right. So to formally close our webinar program, we shall be graced by an endearing message from our guidance counselor, Mrs. Evelyn B. Abuela, RGC. Ma'am?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay, loud and clear. Hello, everyone, once again. It is very clear, no, well explained and discussed by our beloved and handsome NSTP coordinator, our facilitator, Sir Kiso Otor, no, the issues and concerns regarding Environmental Awareness Act or the Republic Act 10-121, no? So, we hope we have imparted this webinar and this adds knowledge to all of you, especially their students, senior high students, and listeners, no? So, emphasize na ko as what had our BPA had discussed a while ago, katong additional niya ni Doc Jols Mero, na bayanihan tayong lahat, no? And it is our social concern, lahat-lahat tayo, students, fellow educators, citizen of the Philippines. Pag mayroong kalamidad, automatic mag-alay kapwa. Automatic ang atong responsibility, and it is our social concern. So, I hope this webinar had given nakahatag og daghan na mga pagdugang kay balo. So again, thank you so much. Our heartfelt thanks also especially to unang-una, syempre, our school president, Sir Tuto Valmores, to our very knowledgeable BPAA, Sir Doc Julius Hamero, to Ma'am Nempa del Socorra, our motherly principal, and syempre, si Sir Kiso Otor, kaya without his research, knowledge, this webinar, dili kompleto. And to the assistant principal, Sir Pilugod Ki Hanyo Jr., no, active principal sa ato ang senior high. And of course naman, VIP ani, very important person ani si Ma'am Nice, Eunice Bana Piña, because she is the one who facilitated the link and the program, no? And kinsa pa, Ma'am Noemi, ikaw diha. Kay without your talent and beauty nga no, so thank you so much. And to all who are involved for this webinar, we are successful. Kita tanan successful because nagtinabangay tangan. So thank you so much, and let me end by saying, according to this aboriginal proverb, emphasize and so very dali ra memorizon. Look after the land, and the land will look after you. Destroy the land, and it will destroy you. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Happy moist morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Evelyn. So I believe we are about to end our program. So we've finally come to an end for it. So it has been a great day, everyone, and it's a wonderful morning with all of you. Again, thank you for all your presence. God bless and good day to each and every one of you. Happy moist morning. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Again, to those who have not yet filled their evaluation form, can we fill in now? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Goodbye and God bless everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank
Thank
you
you, everyone. I
also.
love you. Momo chup chup.